So PO request is a root element. Assuming that one application is sending an XML message with the root node as PO request, purchase order request. Okay. Order ID is a field which is mandatory. Okay. So that means mandatory means in the XML the value should be present. Otherwise, it will throw the error. You got it right? This is mandatory. The value should be there. If it is not there, it throws error. Tracking ID is also mandatory. Order date is a date field. So data types, string, integer, date, those are the date time. Those are the data types. Okay. So this field in XML will specify as a date. So that means we are specifying, let's say if we create an XML, this date should be a date. It should be, if it is coming something like a hello world or some text, it is not a valid XML. Okay. Customer, again, it's a element, it's a complex element. We're making it as a mandatory. That means customer details should be present in the PO request. Okay. Customer ID, I have not given anything. That means it's an optional element. Even if it's not there, I'm okay with it. It's kind of like that. So even a customer ID is not provided, that is okay. But customer name should be there, house number, okay. If the values are not there in XML, we consider it as a what do you call, not a valid XML. Okay, you're getting right. Okay, so items which is a repeating element, 0 or more the unbounded. Okay, so if items are exist, item this product ID, product name, quantity should be there. Okay, product ID, quantity should be there. If item is an optional, 0 or unbounded. You're getting right. Items is optional. If it is exist, product ID should be there. In that, quantity should be there. Okay, is that clear? Let's just I'm writing XML. Tell me whether it's a valid XML or not. Okay, so is this a
This is
valid
a valid
XML?
XML.
How is the valid how it is a valid XML? What is so that means this XML is not a valid XML when we consider this schema. Got it, right? So what I'm saying is schema. What is schema first? Can you tell me what is schema? What is XML schema? XSD. What is XSD?
Defining the structure of XML.
Correct. Describing the structure of XML. Okay. Right. So you have described this as a mandatory field, but that is not there in this XML. You described right here. You described my XML should be like this. Order ID should be there, which is mandatory. Okay, it is there. But tracking ID, you are saying mandatory, but it is not there here. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is not a valid XML. It's a well-formed XML, but not a valid XML.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's say tracking ID is there. Is this valid XML?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir. No, sir.
No,
No,
so
sir. And
yeah, because customer is a mandatory, it is not there, right?
Yes,
So
name is
yes, sir.
mandatory.
yeah, so customer, if it is same optional, then this is a valid form. Why? This is valid because order date is also optional.
Yes, sir.
Okay, customer is optional, even if it is not there, that is okay. Item is also optional. Okay, zero or unbounded. So in that case, it is valid. Okay, if I given this as an optional. Okay, so optional means
Okay, sir.
this node itself. This is element or complex element. This complex element is optional. Phone number. This is mandatory. Okay. So now tell me, is this valid XML or not?
Phone number is
Okay, 367
Valid XML.
valid XML, right?
yes, sir. It is
Even
valid.
customer ID is not there, it's valid because customer ID is optional. We mentioned it's an optional. Okay, optional means even if it is not there, that is okay. Okay, items. Let's say items have given. Now, is this valid
No,
XML?
sir.
No, sir.
No, not
Yeah,
valid.
because this item is there, that means these two at least it should be there. Correct?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, is this valid or not? Now, tell me
Va-
one
Valid.
word.
Valid, sir.
This is valid, right?
Yes.
Okay. Suppose let's say if I remove this one, is it
Not
valid?
valid. Not valid.
Now good. So now you know,
Valid or not valid?
yeah. So now you know why we needed a schema. Okay. And based on the schema, you can able to tell it's valid or not, XML.
Yes,
Okay, XML is valid or not. Okay. So document type. Okay, how to create first we'll explain, and then we'll go to the document type. What is document type in web methods. Okay. So first let me create everyone open the this one, right? Eclipse.
Sir.
Okay, so first thing is I'm going to create others XML schema file. Everyone have this one, right? XML schema file in Eclipse. Sairam.
Yes, sir.
So by the way, Shiva, you got the driving license? Forgot to ask. Now you can drive also. Two-wheeler or four-wheeler?
Four.
Four-wheeler. Wow. So now you need to get job quickly so that you can take everyone in your car. Okay. XML. Everyone selected this one. XML. Click next.
Okay, sir.
Give the name as your something name of the schema. Okay. Your request purchase order request dot xst. Click finish. Great. Everyone so far.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now go to the design. Okay. So we'll open from this one. So root element is PO request. Correct. Selecting root element here. right click, first add element. I created this one. Okay, but this root element is a complex element because it contains other elements, right? So I will create this one. I will select set a type new, and just give your requested type. This is a complex type. I'm giving pivot request hyphen. So it's a naming convention we are following. You can give without type also, it works, but to say like, no, this is a type, new type. Okay, everyone is here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, click OK. Now if you see, this is a root element, it's a complex type. Under that complex type you have some fields, 1, 2, 3 fields, right? First, and then customer, and then items. Okay, so I'm selecting ID. Okay, on the tab, on the complex type, I'm adding element under the complex type. And just give the name order ID. This is a complex type. Created.
Yes, sir.
Then I'm going to tracking ID. So if you see, this one is a mandatory. Okay, so I can right click, I can set multiplicity as required. It's a mandatory field, right? We can set as a mandatory field. So set multiplicity as required. Okay, everyone did that.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So if you see 1.111, it's nothing but a mandatory field. Okay, we know that.
Yes.
Next, add element, another one. I'm adding tracking ID. This is also given as mandatory. So I will select this, right click, set multiplicity as required. Okay, clear it here till so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now order date, which is again under PO request only. So order date, and it's a complex, under complex type only. I'm adding this one, order date. But this is not a string, it's a date, right? So double click here. So there is a drop down option is available. Select date. Okay, so for done, everyone? Done or not?
Done, sir.
Okay, so this one is optional, right? You don't want it's a mandatory. So I can go set multiplicity as optional. Okay, that's an optional element. Now customer, which is again a optional. Let's say we consider it as an optional. Okay, I'm creating this as an element first. But this customer, first I will set it as a optional. Okay, but this is not a string. This is again a complex element, because under this customer you have these fields, right? So first I will create a, this one is a complex element, right? Right click, set type new, then I'm changing this to customer type. Everyone is here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, so this one is referring another complex type. That's why it is showing like that. Okay. So under complex type, I have customer ID,
Customer
optional.
ID.
So add element, this is customer ID, and we can set is optional like this. Okay, name is mandatory. So I can right click and add element, which is mandatory. Add element, it's mandatory. So I just add that. Can you do that, everyone? Remaining, I'm just adding under customer. Okay, I will add all first and then I will change the multiplicity as optional or mandatory. Okay, these are all mandatory. So set required, set required, set required. So we can see in the tree structure also, pivot request type complex type contains all these elements, pivot request contains all these times, like that. Okay, is that clear so far? Again,
sir.
here
Yes, sir.
I need items. Right click here, add element, which is items. But this is, I want 0 or more, right? Optional, unbounded. So 0 dot dot star. You should know 0 dot dot star means that element is optional if it can exist multiple times. Unbounded. You're getting it. Someone if asks what is 0 dot dot star means. So
0 or more.
0 or more. 0 is optional or more. If it exists, it can exist more instances. Okay. So I'm setting that. Okay. Now, but this is not a string because items contains product name, quantity. Correct. So first items I'm copying that only. I will set this as a setter type new
Item type.
Okay, so far good, right? Now adding element, next element, product ID, this is mandatory. Double click if it's not there, you can set it. This is mandatory. I'm going to set multiplicity as mandatory. Product name, right click, set element. This one is optional. Product name we are considering, so I will go to this one, optional, like this, quantity. Add element, quantity. Okay, so this one is required. I set it like this. So it's easy, right? So creating now schemas.
Yes, sir.
So if on the top, if I click, it will show you this is a root element. We'll create only root element here, but the remaining types will create here. Okay, like this. We'll go and create like this tree structure. That's it. If I go to the source, it shows you everything. So order ID is mandatory. That's why min occurs 1, min occurs 1, max occurs 1. Okay, tracking ID is min occurs 1, max occurs. Date is optional, right? So order date is optional. So min occurs is 0, max occurs is 1. Okay. So item is repeating. So min occurs is 0, max occurs is unbounded. Clear, right? So this min occurs, max occurs,
Yes, sir.
occurrences basically. Yeah. If anyone says like, do you know schema? You should say like, yes, I know. So they may ask like, what is min occurs, what is max occurs, 1 what is 1 1 dot, so 0 dot dot star, what is that? Sometimes min occurs 1, max occurs unbounded. It can be. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So that means minimum occurrences should be 1. If it can exist more than 1 also. Okay. So this is my schema. Okay. How to create XML? I can right click. And also, if you see here on the top, target namespace is there. Okay. target namespace and TNS and target namespace. Generally, target namespace, XML namespace, these will be same value. Always, these both will be same value. Okay, clear, right? Okay, so element form default we will learn later. Okay, this one will be there. Once you get little more experience, schema, I will explain. Okay, so these both will be same. These both are called as a namespace. Okay, so they are designed like that. Okay, but what is a namespace? What is the use of namespace? Means, let's say this order ID contains in another schema. Okay, it's like, I told you, right? You have an apartment. Okay, flat number is there. The same flat number may exist in another apartment also, right? So how do you separate? How do you distinguish two same flat number which exists in another apartment? How do you write a letter? Let's say you want to send it to one flat. What is the two address you will give?
Location.
You will give the
Apartment name,
apartment
sir.
name also, right?
Name. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Apartment name and flat number. So name also customer, but they will not look at the customer and the name of the name to whom you are sending. Generally, post office guys will see only this one, apartment name and flat number. They
Sir.
see this only because that is the only they know, right?
Yes.
Name of the person they don't know. Okay, so that is a namespace. Apartment name dot flat number is a namespace. Okay, so in terms of schema, the target namespace, what we say is, if the same element, this element exists in another schema, there may be conflict will happen, name collision. Basically, name collision will happen. To avoid name collision, we will use the target namespace. Okay, you're getting right. So when the program computers process this XML, right? Computer that program will use this target namespace. Target namespace that dot this ID. Target namespace dot root element dot order ID. So how computer computer will take care of how it validates. It takes the target namespace. This one first. Okay, dot root element. What is the root element? My PO request. The root element dot order ID. It's a fully qualified name. This is a fully qualified name of the order ID. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Fully qualified name for this one is like this. Will be like this. Okay. So in programs, this namespace. So two schemas. Suppose let's say we have one more schema here. Let's say we created one more schema, copy pasted. Okay. Let's say I'm just giving schemas. Okay. This schema also have that same target namespace. See this namespace and this also same target namespace and element also the same. Then that program will fail. It will not run. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Because program does not know, like which element should I refer from this schema or should I refer from this schema, because both having the target same namespace. It will not check these file names. Okay, internally when programs runs, it will not read this file name. It will not see this file name. It will see the content inside that schema. Okay, so target namespace, it builds a namespace of each field. Okay, so this field namespace is the one I mentioned, this one, and target namespace is this one. If I have two schemas, two different schemas have the same target namespace, that program will get confusion and it says like no, the same target namespace exists to different locations, I'm throwing the exception. You got it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's why target namespace is important in schemas, as similar as our house number. Okay.
If two element names are same, then we look at target namespace and we can find out. So,
Generally, program will take care of this one. Every element we are writing like this: order ID, tracking ID. But when the program loads this schema, it makes for every field it appends this target namespace. Okay, internally inside the code. Let's say web methods. Let's say web methods when reading this schema. Okay, what it does is inside the program, that program we are not seeing, but someone is written that code. How they written code is for every element they are adding a namespace. This is actual element path, element name. This is actual element name, but we are writing only order ID, tracking ID like that. Okay, so for us there is no need to think about it, but we no need to think about it, this entire namespace. What we need to think is like two schemas are there. If two schemas are there, the target namespace should be different for those two schemas. Otherwise, it throws a error. You got it? That much we need to remember. If I have two schemas in my project, each schema should have different target namespace. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Later, once you get a little bit more experience, you will come to know why I'm saying this target namespace is so much big, why we are making. But right now, just to remember, if we have two schemas in a project, okay, maybe order ID maybe exist. Okay, we cannot guarantee, right? So sometimes this order ID maybe exists in another schema also. Okay, so to avoid name collision, the two, whatever the schemas are there, each should have unique target namespace. Okay, otherwise it throws a error. Is it clear, or I'm making?
okay, sir, it's clear.
Yes, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. So I'm deleting this one because both having the same target namespace. It's not work out. Okay, delete. Now, how to create a XML? We can create a manually schema by XML, or we can generate also like this. This is just for testing purpose. We are generating XML from schema, but in actual projects, this schema we will give it to we will use in our code, and we will map the values. It automatically generates the XML. Are you getting? For the testing purpose, what I am doing is I'm creating from XML. I'm creating schema. I'm creating XML. How to create?
XML.
Next, okay.
File name change, file names.
Yeah. So PO request. I'm giving PO request. Okay. Data. Let me get something.
Next.
Next.
Okay.
Take
Here,
the
XML scheme.
file and XML schema file.
yeah. So no, DTD is we have created schema, right? We have not created DTD. Okay, document type definition. Earlier days we used to, but now we created a schema, so we are choosing the schema, XML schema.
Okay, next.
Next, it's expecting where to store.
Extract the file in SRC. So,
Okay, I selected that one. Create optional elements. Everything I'm selecting. Yeah. So if so create a option attributes also I'm selecting. If any attributes are created, wants to create. Okay, I'm just it created this one. Okay, this is my XML. Here it's only one element is there. I can copy paste. Okay, just copy paste it so that I wanted two products I wanted to order. Okay, and the values, these are not actual values. We can change it actual, just is given dummy. Okay, so I can give 1 2 3 4. This is my order ID, tracking number, something I given tracking number, order date I will give like 2021, let's say. Cust ID is like 01 is cust ID. I can give anything right there. Very here house number 123. Okay, city I will give ready state. Yes. Phone number. Okay, 42. Given something product ID P1. Let's say P01. Anything I can. Books order quantity 10. Okay, here also I can give quantity 5 something. This is my XML now. Okay, let us see product ID 123. Okay, product name okay 10 something. Okay, so this is my XML. This is how we can create. Everyone is clear, right? Okay, now everyone generated, everyone is ready with this one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I will go to the actual web methods. So web methods, the same schema. Okay, schema is nothing but it describing our XML. Describing our XML, right? Is nothing but access. Yeah, right. So similarly, in web methods, they call it as a document type. IS document type or document type or IS document type. Both are same. Okay, IS is integration server. Okay, that is IS. Okay, so this they call it as IS document. So again, IS document is also describes about the XML. Are you getting? Document type is again it's the same as XSD. Okay, same as XSD, but they call it as a document type. Okay, another term is used is document. Document is nothing but it's a XML. Whatever the XML we created, right? This XML is called as a document. Okay, because if you see document, right? Document means what it contains document data, right?
Yes.
So any document like the file documents, you have something like some documents. Can you give me the documents? You will ask, right? So that means it contains the data. Some data it contains, right? So that's why it's called as a document. Okay. So XML also, this XML contains some information, some data, right? That's why this XML in web methods they call it as a document. Is that clear or not? Okay. So now next thing. How to create this document in document. So how to create this document type, IS document type in web methods. Okay, that is what I am going to explain now. Okay, and there will be a question will come from how to create XML document. Okay, I will try to create questions also this time again. Okay, 99% these questions will come. Maybe they ask in a different way. So you should know whatever the answers I give, those are, you have to understand according to the question you have to answer. Okay, are you getting? Okay, so let me go to our project. So start everyone integration server. Right? Okay. Now I am okay. So here let me connect. Okay, so I'm creating demo. So this is purchase order demo. It's a package. We know package. We should create keyword. So here also we study, right, namespace. You remember in web methods also we learned namespace.
Yes, sir.
So
Sir.
same name can exist in two places. So at the time fully qualified. You have taken it folder name dot folder name dot colon flow name should be different, right? So that it can be considered as a two different services. Okay, same in schema also target namespace. Are you getting why we consider target namespace in schema? So the same, like if two elements having the same name, okay, then this namespace should be different. That's why we consider target name should be different. Okay, you're getting right now. There is a similarities. Okay, so PO request. I'm giving this PO request is my package. Okay, I created a package. Under PO request, what I'm doing is I'm creating a folder. Everyone knows now this folder creations. PO request. Yeah. So okay. Before further proceed, do you know anyone like Sri Lanka won World Cup, Cricket World Cup? When? You know when they won World Cup?
No, sir.
No idea.
No idea.
2012 India won. Before that they won 2002 I think 04 2004. So they won T20 not T20 World Cup. How they won? They were the weakest team at that time. Okay, if you study how they won, so what they did is before World Cup they played around themselves, means within the team around I think 200 matches. They played themselves like how to hit the balls. Sanat Jayasuriya, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So those guys like Sanat Jayasuriya, Arvind De Silva, we were at that time, I think we were in BTech. I think no, not in BTech. Sometime, okay, but we learn from them, like to win a race match. Okay, what they did is they practice a lot just before World Cup. Every day their work is practice. Then they won World Cup. After that, that coach explained like how Sri Lanka won the World Cup. Similarly, what I'm suggesting you guys also practice around 200 questions, 200 use cases, then you will be master. Okay, hard work will never go. I think this one you asked right question. So initially, this one not this one, Sairam. So practice 100 times. who did how many practices packages created? I think I've seen Shiva created 10-15 packages. I've seen Jashwant also created 10-15. Anusha, how many you created?
Okay, yes, sir.
How many flows you created so far for
10,
yourself? 10-15?
10. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, practice more. That's what I'm saying. No, you will come to know. There is no need to buy hard or anything. Okay. This schema also, the way I created schema, right? You practice 2 or 3 times. Take any other schema, note it down, create. I think Shiva did many times. Now is okay. Yeah, yeah, because you practiced 2-3 times earlier, right? So now I think after the tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you are making a YouTube also, right? Okay, by Saturday you make it. Okay, our team will see like 7. You will get it here only. Okay, okay. Pivot request. Now pivot folder. I'm creating a folder called docs. These are the documents, right? Document types. Whatever we are creating schemas, those are document types. So I will call it as a docs because instead of writing document types, I'm making it as a docs. Okay, clear, right? Everyone getting this one? Okay. Okay, folder. So, okay, one more thing is whenever we create any package, okay, any package, whatever you create package, if you go to the IS folder, integration server, instances, default, package, here our package will be there, right? You remember?
Yes.
Here our package will be there. Under packages, the package will be there. Okay. And here if you see pivot package, under pivot package, this is package just now I create from the studio designer. So there will be a pub folder. So it creates many folders automatically. These docs I just created, but this pub folder automatically creates. Inside that automatically created, right? There will be index.html file. It automatically creates for every package, whichever the package you see. Let's say demo1, we have a pub folder, there is a index.html file. Okay, I will take this comes under default packages, our package name pub, you will find this one. Are you getting? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
what is that XML file? How we can use it? I will explain later, little bit after a few minutes. Okay. So pivot is created and pub is created and the HTML file automatically created for that package. Okay. From here it is not showing. Background in IS server it is there. Okay. Now in docs, I will right click. If you see here, there are 2 options are given. Document type. So this is a document type. Is nothing but describing about XML. Document type is the one which describes about the XML. So someone calls us, it's a metadata about the XML. Metadata is a word same as describing about the XML. Okay, document type. There is one more called XML document type. Are you seeing? Have you seen this one? XML document type. Okay, there are 2 ways you can create document types. One is document type and other one is XML document type. Okay, if you want you can write in a pen or paper also, whatever we are doing. No? Notes you can make it. Okay, this one is a document type and this one is XML document type. So this document type we call it as the IS document type. It's a standard document type. Okay, IS document, or this one is IS, that's why integration server document type, or we call it as also called as standard. Okay, or this one is proprietary of web methods. So when web methods is designed, like I think in 2000 or 1990s, when they designed, they created this kind of a document type. Okay, it's a standard for web methods only. This document type, the name we are using, right? The standard for web methods only, not by the outside. If you go with other technologies, we will not say document type. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So everyone
Yes, sir.
says XSD, but web methods guy says document type. Okay, so if you create here using this one, it's a standard one, and this one is XML document type. This is it's a XML. It's a schema based document type. This one is a schema based, and this one is a document type. So we'll see both ways how we can create. Suppose let's say first I will go with the document type. Okay, I need to give a name for the document type. Any name I can give. I can say PO underscore request. I'm changing the name because I don't want to make the same name. So you should not say feel that, hey, this one always should be same. No. Here our schema is PO request. Okay. But what I'm doing is a given name PO request. Click next. Okay. These are options are there. This one is again a question in exam. 100% I am sure, because people will ask this kind of a question definitely. Okay, when you create IS document, question is, okay, I will put it this also in the Excel sheet. Okay, next time when we write exam, I think chapter 8, I will conduct separate exam. Okay, for 10 questions. In that I will add this also. When you create IS document type, what are the possible options to create document type? Okay, one is none. You can create from XML. If you have XML structure, XML file, from there also you can create a document type. DTD also, using DTD also you can create document type. XML schema also you can create document type. Okay, JSON, using JSON also you can create a document type. Okay, form SAP, those also from using you can create a document type. You got it right? First I'm going with the none. I will show you XML XML schema also, JSON also we will see. But first I'm creating it manually. When we are saying none means manually we are going to create. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, PO request. So I think you know this one. These fields you know. Where we have seen in flow service under IO / output, we have seen this kind of thing, right? Similar, right? String list, you know, string table, you know. Can you give some example for string table? Table. String table. Anyone remember? There is a slide also.
USD.
Currency. Two columns. So this is the table format. Okay. The position of this one USD is 0, position of euro is 1, like that. 0 0, this will get 0 0 0 1, this will get 1 0 1 1, like that. Okay. If you want to store this kind of a data, lookup data, basically it's a kind of a lookup data, you can use string table. You got it, everyone? Okay. So first thing is I can create same structure here also. The one we needed, this one pivot request, I can create here also. So let's say I can create document because it's a node, right? It's an element, and then after that we have a string elements. So that means I can drag and drop this one. I will make it as a pivot request. Okay, can everyone create this one? So far, I will name this as none, so that how can you rename? Right click rename. So I will say none. This is the first option I'm doing using none. Okay, order date. Okay, earlier we did like string list directly. Remember, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now order item, order request. Under that I need XML. So you can directly drag and drop on this one. So it will come below. Okay, we'll name it this order ID. Double click or rename. Right click, rename. You can give order ID. Okay. If you see on the right side the properties of that field. So if I click this order ID, so you can make it optional, true, false, like that. Yeah, mandatory is true. Okay. Required. That's nothing but required. Mandatory, required. The naming convention little bit different, but we should know like mandatory, required, 1 to 1, 1.1. Everything is same. Min occurs is equal to 1 max. Hmm? Yeah. Yes. Yes. There is something issue. Because of that issue, we'll go to the other option. I will tell you. Okay. Okay. Now order ID is there. Now tracking ID I'm creating. So again drag and drop. I wanted below. So now, but it's not under PO. If you see here, it's not under PO, right? I want PO request. I wanted PO request. We know how to do.
Up, move right.
Okay. Now order date. So that is also string. I can go. It's not a string. Actually, it should be a date, but here everything is a string only. Here there is no option. You can change it. Okay. But if it's the only this, there is no option. Okay. So everything is considered as a string only. Yeah. That is also one reason we'll go from manual creation with a schema definition. Schema, XML schema document type. We'll see that. Okay. If you see this customer, it's an optional element and we need, right? So again, it's a document because it contains other elements. Right? So I can move here document. I'm giving customer and then I'm moving this under your request. So this is optional, right? I will set it as a false. Okay. So if you see here optional, there is a on the top there is some what do you call a square bracket kind of thing is there,
Yes.
box. So that indicates it's an optional. Okay. Then customer ID, which is under this one. So I will drag and drop on this one, automatically it will come. Okay. I'm making a little bit fast so you guys can do start. Can you do that, everyone? Field customer. Okay. Then we'll see item. Now I'm minimizing this one so that if I expand, I can see all these elements are there under. Okay. In between, save your things. Now you have to tell me this is items, right? It's a list. So
Yes.
how can I create?
String list.
String list?
You can
No.
take string list.
If you see string list, this item contains other elements, right? Items contains this element, 3 elements are there. So this cannot be a string. This cannot be a string, right? Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
What should we select? For items, what should be selected here from this one?
Document
If you select document, it's one
reference.
document.
Document reference.
Document reference is it's referring other document.
Object list.
Object list. This is not an object. It's a document, right? It's basically it's a
Document
document.
list, sir.
Document list. You have to use a document list because it's a list. Okay. So we'll go and use. I'm dropping on this one, so it will come under exactly below. Okay. If it's not, you can change it here also. The value I'm adding items. Okay. You can right click rename also do, or you can go from the properties also you can change. It's a document list. Okay. Is it done? Okay. Now product ID. So product ID is a string. I'm adding here. String. I can add it here. Quantity. I can add. Everyone done this one so far? At the time, I'll take string. Okay. String list. So let's say string list is one string. It's an array of list numbers. Suppose numbers I have, I can take it that as a string list. Oh, my connection lost, right? Okay. So last time we have taken string list. You remember number list. I want an
Yes, sir.
array of same string variable, but it's an array of values. Okay. At the time I will take the string list.
Yes, sir.
When we take numbers, we can take string list.
Yeah, numbers. If you want to take numbers, let's say x equal to. I want to write array like this. X equal to. Suppose let's say x equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. If this is an array, variable is x, but it's an array of values. At that time, I will take string list. Are you getting? Yeah. So string table. Okay. When you want like a kind of a 2 by 2 matrix, I think you have remember 2 by 2 matrix.
Yes,
We
sir.
studied 2 by 2 matrix. We studied that. So if I want like store 2 by 2 matrix, I will use string table. Okay. Document we will use only when that element contains other elements. Customer contains customer ID, customer name like this. So I made document this one.
Like one element contains child elements.
Correct.
Parent element.
Exactly. Element contains child elements. At that time, document will take. And if that document, if it is repetitive, multiple are there, I can use document list. Like items. Items are repetitive, right? Multiple items in a product in a order, purchase order. I can add multiple products.
So items are not under the product ID, product name, quantity are not under the items, sir. They are under the items only.
Items only, right?
Once there's an arrow, or click on that arrow. They are under means we can take document.
Document only you can take, but I want these items are repeated. Document is one document. It's not a list array. Document is not an array, but document list is an array. So items are array.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah. Is it done?
Yes, sir. Number of items we have means we can take document list.
Yes. Give me a second. It's closed. I can use this document also directly. This document type in our code also. Uh, 1 second. This in the flow service. Okay. Let me create a flow. Is a service. I'm creating a service folder. Okay. I can click. So I'm creating a flow service. Let's say order flow service. Just to, so when we get an order, what we wanted to do, like whether we wanted to update in database or not, something like that. Okay, some actions we are going to perform. That's why I'm creating a flow service. Order flow service, SVC. I will use SVC is nothing but shortcut service. Okay, click next. Empty flow service. We know how to create this flow service. Okay, the first step we okay. So empty means, okay, let me go to there also. Here also, empty means you are not selecting any input output. Okay, if you're selecting none, means it is not receiving any document. Okay, empty means like no, you may create your own input output schemas. Input output. Okay, or suppose let's say if you're selecting XML, you can say like no, input is XML. Okay, or DTD schema like that. So we are creating empty. So whichever you select here, right, that's automatically comes under input and output tab. Okay. Just give me a second. Yes, Sudha. So this says what input to the flow service, right? Last time we created a number list. Remember, right? Number list.
Yes, sir.
So if I create here number list, so that schema, that structure, I cannot use it other. Okay. So we created now this schema, separate schema. PO request we created, right? I wanted to use that PO request here instead of I go and create all this structure here. I can do this structure creation here also. Are you getting? Here also I can create structure like no document, same right there. Yeah, document, and then I can name it, and then after that strings, everything I can do.
And
Yeah, instead of that I can do this one. So I can now drag and drop here document reference. I will go and previously selected here, and then I can use it. Okay, I can name any name PO request like that. Okay, so the structure will be here. So advantage here is, if suppose let's say another flow service is there. Okay, this one is my flow service. Here, this is new flow service. Let's say order flow service. There also I want the schema. There is no need to create again and again. You're getting right? So document.
sir.
Yeah. So I can do document reference, or I can drag and drop here also. It will work. Okay. Like that also. So that means this is a document reference. Are you getting? Okay. So this is one way you can create a schema so that you can use in your code. Okay. So when we run this one, let's say, let's order flow. I'm running as a flow service. Okay, save. See, it is expecting the inputs. Okay, because it's in the input output tab. Okay, so you can enter the data, or you can load from the XML, load from the file. Okay, and we can use it. Let me see if I can able to load from file or not. Okay, so this is this one is data, right? Let me go to this one path. I'm just trying. I never tried this one, if it works or not. Let me see. Just trying. Open. No data. No, it's unable to pass because both are not in the same format. Okay, now you can enter the data. You're getting right? So we can enter the data and we can do the testing the way like we did last time. Okay, so advantage of creating a document separately is you can reuse in number of times, in number of places, instead of copy paste every time. So if any changes you want to do, you go and change here. It will change in every place. Okay. Hello. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this document, what the in the there is a one more question. It will come. What is the type of this document? What is the type of document type? So it is iData. So if you see on the right side, right, this is iData. Okay. So if you go to the training, what he says is maybe something Java object type. It's a Java object type of iData. Remember, anyone remember? Yeah, com dot.
WM dot data I data.
So this is one question may come. Okay.
Okay.
So remember this one, or type of com dot WM data iData. So basically, if you remember iData, then you can also say. Okay. Now, second way we will do. So this is one. Now let's say I have XML itself. This XML we have read. I have this XML itself. From XML, this is XML. From this XML also, I can create the document type. Whatever, instead of creating again in all these fields, I can directly create also. How? Doc type. I can go document type. Okay. Let's say PO underscore request underscore XML. I'm not using XML schema. First, I'm using XML. Okay. Next, I will use XML. Okay. Now, I will go here. This PO request data XML. This is the one we created. Okay. I'll select next finish. The DTD for this will be used. Sample XML will be used instead. Okay. And it creates. Okay. So this is created. The name is created. So it's creating from that XML. It's created the structure. Okay. So TNS is a namespace, target namespace, colon like that. It is added. Okay. So it's not the exact structure as this one. Are you getting? This is not the exact structure. Structure is same, but names, little bit namespaces are added here. Are you getting? If suppose let's items, if I see items, so items is required. Okay, but it is a document list. If you see, items are document list. You have seen, right? Okay, customer is a document. Again, PO request is a document. Okay, order ID string. So these extra added, right? These are there in the schema. That's why it is showing. Okay, don't worry about this. TNS is the namespaces of the XML elements. Okay, so this also I can use it in flow services. How I can create one more flow service? Empty again. Finish. Now I can drag and drop this one. PO request also. No, not here. Input output. So I can create document reference also. I can use it document reference and select also. PO request XML. Okay, so it also contains elements. Same. I can test also this one. Means like, so we can use it more. I will tell you later. Like, we got this as the input, and then after that we can call database also. We can create a database services from whatever we got the data. We'll call the database service and we can map it inputs so that it can insert into database. So that logic we will write here. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So this one is okay. So this is second way we can create a XML document. Third option is XML schema. So I can say PO underscore request underscore access. I'm just giving name so that okay, schema. I'm using XML schema. So we don't have DTD, so I'm not creating using DTD. But 1, 2, 3. PO request, right? This is a PO request. You create a PO .xsd. Okay, I select the schema. Next, we are selecting the PO request is the root element. We have to select the root element because in the XML, which is the root element, this PO request is the root element. That's why we are selecting the root element. Okay, next, finish. So here also it created schema. Okay, PO, order ID, tracking number, order. Forget about TNS colon. TNS colon is a namespace. Okay. Yeah. So it contains the same. This one is the XML namespace and the document reference. This is a document reference. Now it is little bit changed because from the schema we created. So in schema we have a document references everything. That is why it is showing. Like if you see here, item is referenced using item type. So item type, that's why it is coming differently. So I will not go in detail explaining this one. It will get confusion. Okay, but from the schema also we can create the document type. Okay, so when we create all this what we did is IS document type, integration server document type. You got it right? IS document type. So our standard document type. Okay, so all this we can create from XML. We can create manually. We can create JSON. We can create DTD. We can create from XML also. Yeah, 4 steps, right? 4 or 5. Yes. Let me go with again document type. Let's say none means manually you are going to create XML, DTD, XML schema, JSON. Don't say like a broker document type. There is no broker document type. This is grayed out. Earlier we used to have, but now there is no broker document type. Okay. JSON. E-forms I don't have the sample messages, but we never use. Most of the time we will not use e-forms in our projects. Rarely. It's like 0.00001% projects we will use it when required. Okay. E-form, SAP. These are, we should just remember e-form. That's it. E-form, SAP. That's it. Okay. Mostly the question will come from the here. How? So you can create a IS document from below list except one. Okay. So options they give none, XML, DTD, XML schema, broker document type, JSON. Which one is not correct?
Broker document.
Broker document type, like that. Okay.
Okay.
Now I will take break here. Okay. Last question is what is the data type? What is the type of document type?
iData.
Yeah.
Com.wm.data.
Yeah, it's a
Web
package
method.
name, complete package name, com.wm.data.idata. It's a package name. Actually, this is background is a Java code, right? Whatever we are doing, right, working here, it internally converts into Java. Okay, so that Java internal name is this code. Everything is developed using Java. Internally, it's not like Java. It's this flow service is stored on XML only, but this entire web basis is developed on Java. Okay, so this document type is also used Java. So that's a com.wm.data.idata. It's a class. It's an interface. idata is nothing but interface, some kind of interface.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll take break 15 minutes or half an hour. We'll take break. Then I will connect for half an hour, and you guys again need to study this one. Now at least you got something. Understand it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So from Thursday, right, what I will do is not Thursday, from Friday. So morning I will take 1.5 hours, and your evening I will take 1 hour. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So I can at least little bit take rest also. Okay. So yeah, 8 to 10 we will take 2 hours.